Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say, call hello, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah, Kodash. I want to send double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders, a great millstone. I want to send much peace, love, salutations to Yaki. I'm out there pushing the word of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, sincere and truth. This is the brother Ariella. On this lesson, I just want to do a land back. I just want to do a response to a video that Elder Yashawamba had did yesterday, uploaded yesterday. It's news and prophecy, the mother of all harlots, Sodom and Egypt. And in this lesson, he's basically going over, a lot of the idol worship that our people have been into, that we read about in the scriptures, and showing you how these ancient rituals, customs, and everything like that are still going on even until this day. And this is something that I was mulling over. I was going to do a lesson on, but the Elder Yashawamba, when you go and watch this video, it's about 90 minutes, a little bit more than 90 minutes, where he takes a pretty comprehensive look, into the scriptures, and going into what the Canaanites used to do, and showing you how it links up. When you read in the book of Revelation, the 11th chapter, it talks about how this place is Sodom and Egypt, and how those ancient rituals and customs that they used to do back then are still going to this day. And that's what I want to lock in on, because, when you read the scriptures, man, there can be a sense that this stuff is old, Well, everything you see that's happening today is old. There's nothing new under the sun. It says it here in Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So when we go into the scriptures and read about these things, even Elder Yashawamba, he touches on Deuteronomy, the 12th chapter. And matter of fact, I'm going to read that in the KJV here in a second. He touches on that, but all of this stuff is still things that we have to watch out for in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, because it's going on even to this day. And this whole Epstein file situation and all the information that's coming out about Epstein is really highlighting something that's going on worldwide, and really is a small piece of all the dark demonic wickedness that's been going on. Now, ever since the Olympics in 2000, and I can't remember, a couple of years ago, they had the Olympics, out there in Paris. And we was telling everybody, look at this demonic ritual that they are literally performing, and they're getting more open with it, because they need to draw from their left-hand energy in order for them to feel like they can complete their enterprise, whether the MOTB, and really trying to reclaim or take the blessing from the nation of Israel, right, on the left-hand side, man. And so they're doing these rituals more openly and putting it in everybody's face, But all of the stuff that they're doing is nothing new under the sun. This has been around. It's not a surprise or a shocker to us. A lot of people are like, man, I can't believe. We've been telling you this. They've been doing these dark, wicked ceremonies since since Adam was kicked out of the garden. When you go back and you read Genesis 5, Genesis 6, these are the type of things that was going on, right? So we still see these things even unto this day. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little clip here from Elder Yashawamba and get a few scriptures, and then I'll pull something up in Gronk, and I just want to highlight this real quick, man.
All of these things coming out about what they're doing. Okay, children able to change their gender. Billie Eilish admits she joined Hollywood blood ritual club. I love babies and a taste of blood. All of these sex abuse brothels and all of these things we're seeing just pop up out of nowhere. Child trafficking.
And it's not out of nowhere. They just now bringing it to the forefront because they want that magic to be out there, man. They need to push it openly in order to really conjure up those spirits, And the people are so stupefied and zombified that they don't even realize that they're joining in the ritual. When you see all the stuff that's in the news media and everything, like, these people are really joining in chanting this ritual, man. Right?
Okay, all of these weirdos. Why did Ellen DeGeneres, right, have a temple of Baal Right.
And I saw when he's looking up, it said Ellen DeGeneres skincare. There's no telling what type of wickedness they rubbing on their face, man. To look like little boys. Just fucking weirdos, man. All of this stuff, man, goes back to these ancient rituals that we read about in the scripture. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 29 says, when the Lord your God goes ahead of you and destroys the nations and you drive them out and live in their land, do not fall into the trap of following their customs and worshiping their gods. Do not inquire about their gods, saying, how do these nations worship their gods? See, we wasn't meant to learn these rituals and going into these satanic ways of being. We're supposed to be naive to those things. The Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, wanted us to keep things simple, be naive to the way of righteousness, right? Be naive and only follow the way of righteousness. Let me say that right, and not even go into this other stuff. That's this left-handed power. It says, do not inquire about their gods, saying, how do these nations worship their gods? I want to follow their example. You must not worship the Lord your power the way the other nations worship their gods. And that's why you see the drinking of blood, the abusing children, okay? The changing of kind that we read about. Changing girls into boys and boys into girls, and then chopping their feet up and eating them. This is the way of these heathen nations. And Esau has taken this and created a worldwide ring, and mastered it. But it's nothing new under the sun. Right? It says, for they performed for their gods every detestable act that the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters as sacrifices to their gods. So be careful to obey all the commandments I give you. You must not add anything to them or subtract anything from them. Okay? And they get you to add and subtract with all of the propaganda and what they promote within the you don't even realize you'll eat some food. It'll have meat sacrificed unto idols in it. You don't even know. These commercials that you see is producing all types of demonic imagery, and as you're watching it and you're viewing it, you don't even realize you're a part of a satanic ritual, man. And that's what they want, man. They're literally pushing out this energy on everybody, and everybody's just viewing it and being consumed in it. Not realizing that they're being enveloped into all types of demonic, wicked, backwards, detestable energy. All right. So now you've had these these different files, Epstein files, coming out. Is basically highlighting and detailing a lot of the stuff that Elder Yashawamba was talking about in this video, which I highly recommend you go watch this video, because like I said, in this 90 minutes he gives a very well encompassed, comprehensive look into the scriptures, into the modern, what they're doing right now. I'm just going to lean in on this whole Epstein thing and show you there's nothing new under the sun. This is just something that they've been doing. But it's a small piece of all the stuff, because Elder Yashawamba goes into all different types of examples showing you how this place is just ridiculous. It even got to the point where Elder Yashawamba had to, do a part 2. Now, I don't know if he's already put up part 2 on this, because, he did this a little bit back ago. And that brother is always putting up videos. So you just have to work your way through his videos. But as he goes through it, he's showing you all the different wickednesses he's doing. Now, I want to play this clip. It's a 4-minute video. I'm going to play some of it, and then I put this into Grok and ask Grok a question. And you have to be very specific with these AI, tools, because they'll defend the Epstein and they'll defend the elites, because that's who created all this crap. But if you word it in a certain way, you can kind of get it to take you the direction that you already understand is true. Right? So now this video says, new Epstein files reveal satanic ritual sacrifices on humans by Nick Kaswani. Right? And he did this a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to play a little bit of this and then go to Grok and read some of the stuff that that it says. Okay?
Now, I had the displeasure of reading many of these documents, and I'll summarize each one briefly so you can see how wicked the tip of the iceberg really is. The first shocking piece of evidence is the name of Epstein's bank account, which goes by the name Baal, the demon that the Bible mentions that demanded human sacrifice. The document states, please wire $11,438 from the above account to Baal, name Wachovia Bank, N.A. A very weird...
Show you how, like, he got Wachovia, which was a daughter company to now what's known as Wells Fargo. Okay? But why would you name your account Baal if you're not into all that wickedness, man?
Title to call your bank account, but given the fact that these are child monsters and children were sacrificed to this demon, it makes sense. The next document shows that Epstein was receiving torture videos from a redacted contact. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. Just in that document alone raises so many concerning questions. We also see that Epstein had a baby-making ranch in New Mexico, where women not of age were used as human incubators, with one of the victims writing about it in detail in her diary. Controlled all by Jeffrey, and go to New Mexico? What in the hell? He is now controlling everything. Superior gene pool? Why me? I miss the person I was before I was made into what feels as a human incubator. But if you think that's evil, it gets even worse. George H.W. Bush, the 41st President of the United States, was also implicated after forcing himself on a male victim and proceeding to ritualistically sacrifice him by cutting off his feet, as well as babies being dismembered with their intestines being removed and them eating the feces from their intestines. Yes.
They were doing all of this type of wickedness back in the ancient world, man. Okay? That's why the scriptures talk about it in the New Testament when you had the Gentiles, the Israelites in a Gentile state of mind, they were into the customs of the Greco-Roman Empire, which goes all the way back to the Canaanite rituals, and so all over those regions you had, temple harlotry going on, and they were performing these different rites and rituals up in these temples, man, where they was taking little boys and making them into homosexuals and all stuff, all types of stuff like that. It talks about that in 1 Corinthians the 6th chapter. It says, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind. So, because that's what was happening up in those temples when they was worshiping these other gods. They were abusing themselves with mankind. But the key word I wanted to get here, it says, nor effeminate. And when you look that up, what does that mean? Right? Don't be effeminate, nor effeminate. Let's get that. Malakos. Okay, it says soft to the touch, metaphorically in bad sense, effeminate, of a catamite, of a boy kept for homosexual relations with a man, of a male who submits his body to unnatural lewdness, of a male prostitute, and that's what they was doing up in these ancient temples. They had boys that was kept for homosexual relations. Well, that's what George W. Bush was and all these other so-called elite were doing when they were cohorting with Epstein and all the people like that, man. And all of this stuff is ancient, man. Now, what is a catamite? Let's look this up. All right, a boy kept for homosexual practices, right? A catamite. So that's what was happening out there at Epstein Island. You had these different practices that go back to the ancient world, being done. Nothing new under the sun. Okay? And these presidents, we was presidents, senators, different celebrities, different powerful business moguls all across the world. They're all a part of this stuff. What do you think they're doing over there in Saudi Arabia and Dubai? They doing these same things over there, man. They doing these same things over in China, over in Japan. All of these heathens are practicing these different things. Now, you have Epstein that was, over here in the Western Hemisphere, has your little island. But you don't think that these things ain't going on over in Russia and all? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't care, you had a temple of Baal being burnt in Iran. Them Iranians doing this nasty shit too. Okay? As a matter of fact, it's a part of the Islam culture. You're going to go to heaven and you're going to get these little boys. Okay? And you best believe it's going on in Africa on a whole nother level. You see where he's saying they're eating doo-doo out of their intestines. Where do you think you get doo-doo eating from? These dirty Hamites, man. They are the kings of doo-doo eating. You know? You got these Elamites, these Indians, they bathe in doo-doo. Something smells like shit. What a wonderful fragrance. You smell like shit. No, you smell like shit. Like Jamie Foxx talked about, man, when he went over there to Africa. So all of these different things, these people still do, to this day that was done back then.
I said that correctly, and it's sick. Thanks, I didn't realize Bush R'd him too. Okay, he was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice, in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. He was also R'd by George Bush I. However, US presidents weren't the only ones that were implicated. British royalty was as well. Prince Andrew also tortured a victim.
Those are ancient torture techniques where you can cut people in the way is such a, and we even have this in medicine today, where you use a certain type of scalpel and it will leave minimal scarring. As a matter of fact, it'll bleed, but it'll clot up so quick, and you flap. You make sure that the skin flaps in a certain way to where it won't scar. Even as a dentist, if I pull a tooth or if I do something, and when I suture it, when I close it back up, I can flap it together to where when it closes, you won't really see no scarring, man. There was one time where I had an incident with a guy that used to be in a camp where he got his lip busted, and I took him over, sutured it up, and you couldn't even tell he had got cut after it healed. So they know how to do all of this type of stuff to bloodlet and do all types of craziness, man.
And proceeded to have the victim unalived right after, with even photo evidence of the night that it happened. The document says, back in the 90s, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited a girl for a modeling career. Instead of modeling, she was sold as a slave for sex and torture. Prince Andrew was an accessory to her death as he tortured her and me to force her murder. That's just absolutely disgusting. But then it also exposes fake philanthropists like Bill Gates. Bill Gates was also implicated after receiving STDs from hookers, as well as asking how he could slip antibiotics into his wife's meals, so that way she wouldn't contract them from him. The email says, to facilitating his illicit trysts, from helping Bill get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls. Your STD, your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda. Jay-Z was also implicated after being present during an abduction of a victim, where the victim was assaulted by Harvey Weinstein while Jay-Z watched it happen. The account says later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had inserted his fingers into the victim. After this point in the account, the document describes the individual regaining consciousness in a room with multiple high-profile figures present. Now that's a lot of insane information given in a short time, but there's some.
Now, so yeah, you can go watch the full video on his page or whatever. He's continuing to track this, but the whole point is that all of the stuff that you see them doing, it ain't nothing new, man. So I typed in this YouTube video, and I said, without defending if the allegations are true or not, how does the content in this video match rituals found in the Bible and Apocrypha about idol worship and the sacrifices and rituals? It says the video's content centers on allegations of modern elite involvement in satanic rituals, including human sacrifices, particularly of children, organ harvesting, consumption of body parts, torture, and underground ceremonies, often linked to figures like Epstein and framed as continuations of ancient pagan practices like Baal worship. These are portrayed with references to violent acts such as dashing infants against rocks, cutting their feet, and killing pregnant women or virgins. Below, I'll outline key elements from the videos that describe rituals and match them to corresponding references in the Bible and Apocrypha. All right, so I'm just going to read a little bit through this, and just show, man, and all of this stuff, it just comes from ancient demonic rituals, man. Right? It says video element. It says alleged rituals involving human sacrifices to satanic entities like Baal, including the torture and killing of children as offerings, with implications of consumption or organ harvesting in ceremonies. Biblical matches. Worship of Baal often involves sacrifices, sometimes human. In 2 Kings 17, 16, and 17, the Israelites are condemned for worshiping all the host of heaven and serving Baal. They made their sons and daughters pass through the fire, referring to child sacrifice. Okay? It says Molech, sometimes associated with Baal, required child sacrifices. Deuteronomy 18 and 21 prohibits passing your offspring through the fire to Molech, and 2 Kings 23 and 10 describes King Josiah's defiling the high place in the valley of Hinnom to stop child sacrifices to Molech. See? Ezekiel 16 and 20 and 26 through 31 depict Israel's idolatry as involving the sacrificing of children to idols, including burning them as offerings and slaughtering them to false gods. And these are all customs that in Deuteronomy, the 12th chapter, the Israelites were warned to stay away from. But what happened? Israel fell into mingling themselves with the heathen, which, El Yashawamba talks about that. All right. And then following their ways. So as we see our nation, you see us going off doing these things, they got these practices from the heathen nations, man. And these practices are still going on to this day. As you can see, President Bush and all these other people were a part of it, right? Nothing new under the sun. Jeremiah 7 and 31 and 19 and 5 condemned the building of high places in the valley of Hinnom for burning sons and daughters as fire as sacrifices to Baal. And within a lot of these different sacrifices that you read in the scriptures, there was all types of lewd sex acts that was happening at the same time leading up to the sacrifice. And that's why I love using the example of Conan the Barbarian. Because not only was there sexual orgies happening, at the very end of it, what they did was they wanted to have a sacrifice of somebody at the very end. I mean, they were going in on it. I'll see if I can find it real quick. Alright, so I just typed in Conan the Barbarian, the temple scene. I'm going to speed it up. Probably I'll get this video flagged, but we ain't trying to make no money off of it anyway, So they have this dude, he was a whole snake, and he turns back into a man, just showing you the left hand magic, but they up in this temple, and they about to raid this temple. You see they cooking all manner of abominable things, You see here in this clip that you got men with men, women with women. These are all temple harlots, and the top temple harlot was like the princess that they had, which they were set to sacrifice her. I want to see if they're gonna show that part. I ain't gonna show the whole damn movie, but I'm gonna see if I can find the part where they're about to sacrifice this chick. Okay, yeah, so they had it in part 2. Let me see. Even the scriptures talk about us not being like wowed by the stuff that the heathen was doing, and our people always got caught up when they would see this type of stuff. They would go in these temples and butt naked women, people doing all types of manner of wickedness, and you can see they're looking like, oh wow, like when you was a little kid and Skinamax would come on late at night, you have your hand over your eyes and then your hand open up, All types of lewd acts and stuff like that. I'm not gonna play it all, but they doing that. I'm trying to see if they show the sacrifice setup. There's that cauldron. And they're showing you all the lewd acts they were doing. You know, eating of abominable things. Like
This is paradise.
Boom, and so there's nothing new under the sun. They still doing all this stuff even unto this day, bro. Right? Okay, yeah. So they at the end they set to sacrifice her. Now, when you watch this dude turn into a whole damn snake, there you go. You know, they say, "Oh, that's who was in the garden." Anyway, man, yeah. So if you don't get a good, it gives you. I like using this video because it gives you a good glimpse of what they're talking about that's going on in these ancient rituals. Okay, and all of these things has been going on. Even all of it happening right now somewhere. Okay, happening right now somewhere. All right. It says in the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, it says 12:3-6, Canaanite idol worship is described as including secret ceremonies and merciless slaughter of children, along with feasting on human flesh and blood and initiatory rites, portraying these as abominable pagan practices. Right? Baruch 6 criticizes Babylonian idol worship, including processions and offerings to lifeless statues. Though less focused on human sacrifice, it emphasizes the futility and evil of such rituals, man. Okay? I'm going to go to that real quick. Because when you get in Wisdom of Solomon 14, it talks about that too. Let's see. Wisdom of Solomon 14:12 says, "For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life." Right? As you skip down, let me see. Yeah. Verse 22, it says, "Moreover, this was not enough for them, that they erred in the knowledge of the Most High, but whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance, those so great plagues called they peace. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites, they kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled." That's why you see Kill Gates had to put antibiotics in his wife's food and drink, right? It says, "But either one slew another treacherously, or grieved him by adultery, so that there reigned in all men without exception blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, and perjury." And this is the spirit that they've poured over all the whole earth. The whole earth is filled with this: blood, manslaughter, theft, dissimulation, all these things, right? Perjury, just lying, tumults, disquieting of good men, right? Forgetfulness of good turns, defiling of souls, changing of kind. This whole transgender nasty movement, disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanliness. For the worshiping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil, man. And so these people are literally living off of this dark magic, you know? They're living off of it. And they're thriving off said things, you know. Let's see. Back in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12, verse 3, it says, "For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of the Holy Land," talking about the Canaanites, of thy holy land, talking about the Canaanites. It says, "Whom thou hatest for doing most odorous works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh, and the feast of blood. Right? With their priests out of the midst of their adulterous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help. Right? And so these things that are being described in this video is nothing new. Okay? These type of practices have been going on. And now they really push it. Okay? All right. Let's see if there's any more. Let's see. Killing of specific groups, women. It says commands for total destruction in holy wars against idols, talking about how when we came into the Holy Land, we were supposed to utterly destroy them. All right. It says Deuteronomy 20:16 instructs the Israelites to utterly destroy Canaanite cities, sparing nothing alive to prevent adopting their abominable idolatrous practices. 1 Samuel 15:3 commands Saul to destroy the Amalekites entirely. Kill both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep. Like get them out of the land. Right? Let's see. First Maccabees 1:48 describes Hellenistic forces under Antiochus Epiphanes compelling Jews to adopt idol worship, including sacrificing unclean animals and facing death for refusal, with mass killings of women and children. Yep. Oh, okay. It says video elements, secret underground activities such as sacrifices hidden in hidden locations like islands or buildings. Idol worship often occurred in hidden or high places. 1 Kings 14:23 mentions high places and pillars for Ashtoreth and Baal. Ezekiel 8:7-12 describes hidden idolatrous rituals in temple chambers where elders burn incense to creeping things and loathsome beasts in darkness. So this is where the scriptures talk about the groves. So as you see these people go to these hidden places in islands and go deep into the forest to do, Elder Yashawama talks about Bohemian Grove in this video. There's nothing new. All this stuff is in the scriptures, man. Let's see. It mentions wisdom of Solomon 14. We just read that. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of cover that, man. And touch on this because listening to Yashua video, I'm like, man, yeah, all of this stuff is nothing new under the sun. These people's heart is deep to do left hand magic, and that's why the Most High is going to confound these nations. Like it says in the book of Psalms, the 2nd chapter, why do the heathen rage? People imagine a vain thing. They really think they're going to get this left-hand power over Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and they're going to find out real quick that it's not going to work out for them, man. So, but anyway, man, Lord willing, man, that was edifying. I just wanted to touch on those points. With that being said, I'm going to say, call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Makar Kadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, salutations to Yakim out there pushing the way Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Truth, shalom.